Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Hey, and welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern. That's 9 Pacific. We talk about guns for about an hour. We run it live on YouTube. We simulcast it on gunchannels.com. Gunchannels.com is a community that we built 5 years ago now. So a bunch of people that are interested in firearms. We have conversations there 24/7. We run shows like this over there. So if you're just experiencing this on YouTube or iTunes or soon iHeartRadio, then we encourage you to check out gunchannels.com for some firearms-friendly community. We've got people joining us tonight. We've got Angelina, one of our regular hosts, joining from California. Thanks for joining.
Hello from fiery California.
And that probably started from gunfire because they're violent. Then we've got Dano jumping in, another host from Illinois. This is a rare opportunity to have Dano on a Friday. Thanks for joining. Well, he's getting coffee. So then we got Gunsnob. Let's go down to Oklahoma and say hey to Gunsnob for jumping in.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
Yeah. And then we'll head up to Kansas and say hey to Gary for joining.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
We've got a couple other, no problem. Thanks for jumping in again. And we've got links out there if people want to join in, kind of doing the new schedule here where we kind of have an open panel discussion with some a wide variety of regulars and not anybody that's new. I'm not going to say that. I'm not Matt. He enjoys having wild cards in. I don't. But I do like having conversation about guns. So anybody that's interested in having a conversation and is interested in joining, let us know. And more than happy to have you on. Soon we'll be starting the noon time daily gun shows, and we'll talk more about that next week. Anyway, today is Friday, so we usually talk the gun tech and the industry on Fridays, and it's I always forget to say it, but it's also Free Patch Friday. So over on gearwebsites.com, that's our store, we offer free patches for any order. You don't need any coupon codes, you don't need any minimum orders, there's no procedure or anything. Any order you do on Friday gets a free patch, and if you order a bunch of stuff, we're going to give you free patches, more than one free patch. So it's our way of saying thanks to the people that purchase from the store. And our store is one of the ways that we keep our projects going online. So again, thanks to the people that participate that way. Friday, I've been trying to talk and type at the same time here. So I'm trying to open up the schedule because we do have some topics tonight. And it'll eventually open from the computer here. So
I have,
you're back?
guns in everyday life.
No, you got it. Thanks. And then what are FFLs? So two topics that we're recycling from the olden days. I don't know if these are topics Dano remembers, but it is Friday. And more importantly, it's August 10th. August 10th is a significant date because today in 1984, the best movie ever made was let loose to the public, and we all had a chance to experience it. So we can always just talk about that only tonight if you want. But we can also talk about these topics. Looks like Cycle is getting something going on the desk there. Working on your star.
Yep.
Cleaning, repairing, what are you doing there?
Cleaning, yeah. So from what I found out from when I shot it, and it was a little screwed up inside, so I thought I'd take it apart.
How does everyone feel about that metal gun coming in a plastic box? That's gotta really be kind of
ironic.
Yeah, a real issue for some people, I'm thinking.
Why? Plastic guns don't come in metal boxes.
Well, I do have to say that the plastic boxes are superior to the cardboard ones that came apart just as you got them.
I don't want to agree with that. The Glock type of plastic seemed to last a while, but some of them old brittle plastics, they last for a while, longer than a box. But as soon as they fail, they're gone. You can't salvage one of them.
You're right. The ones that are brittle, they're not impact resistant. They will crack very easily. But I remember the Smith & Wesson boxes, the paper ones with my 686. They used tape, one piece of tape at the corners to hold cardboard together. And if there was any minimal amount of force in a different direction, it would tear.
Oh,
and now pristine box is now less than pristine.
So that's a topic, I guess. We're talking industry and talking tech. So the boxes that they come in, I mean, I'm guessing back in the olden days, you were paying a pretty penny for a new piece of technology. I expect the packaging was something that they put some thought into because, you know, it would add to the value or whatever. But then I suspect somewhere there, the packaging became less of an issue, right? Because as costs come up or whatever, that's a thing you can sacrifice. And now it seems like packaging is very rarely even thought of, right? It's like you say, sometimes just a paper box or something. A lot of times there's no tape at all. It's just like folded. It's
And
$3.
another type of box that I've seen in museums, and I don't know if it applies how universally this is, but where, you know, back in, let's say, the 1800s, where they would take a small box with like 1/4 inch sides with some small, let's say 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch sort of strips of wood, tap them together, and then they would use wood. It's like, I don't know how to describe it other than it's not sawdust, but it's like wood straw. It's long pieces of wood, that shavings that would come off of a piece of wood, and they'd all be curled and all that, and they would use that as padding, both on below and above the product.
Well, yeah,
Well,
before
it
they
was
came
almost
out with styrofoam stuff.
Yeah, it was almost like shavings or something like if they would.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know, was that like waste from an actual production and they were just making use, or were they wasting a bunch of trees just to curly cue them up, do you think?
I don't know. I would assume that it was like, hey, we need to pad this thing somehow. Rather than make a more custom box, let's make a general purpose box, but then put all this waste product in it, and they just wipe it off when they get it.
Are my sound levels okay, or do I need to come up a little bit?
A little bit if you can.
I got plenty of room on the mixer. Is that better?
Yeah.
But, okay, thank you.
So when you buy a gun, how big a percentage is the box packaging or others? Well, the box in particular. So if the gun comes with like a safe, or if it comes with some sort of a holster type of gizmo, we're not including that. We're just talking like basically marketing, packaging, you know, that kind of thing. How much of a decision is the box percentage wise when you're making a purchase of any kind of gun? We'll start with Angelina.
Can you do me last, actually?
Oh, so Cycle.
0. It's a very pleasant surprise if I happen to get a firearm in a really nice box, but unless it's a presentation style weapon, I could care less.
Well, okay. Well, let everybody answer, and then we'll go back and get the nuance. So Gary.
0 for me also. My cases go in a stack on top of the closet. That's about the last time I see them, unless I go to sell the gun or something like that.
Well, we'll go to Anno next.
It would never stop me from purchasing a gun, but it is nice to get a gun that also the case that it came in also functions or doubles as a carrying case to the range. So I don't have to buy that extra box.
All right.
And with just a little bit of engineering, you can make a packaging box also a go to the range box.
Not always, but I guess, yeah, you're right. It's potential.
And it's universally true.
Right.
Pretty much 0. I do like it when they come in a decent plastic case, but it's no big deal to me because those usually just sit around and never get touched.
Angelina?
It used to kind of be a big deal to me, but now I don't really care.
All right, well then I'm not sure if anybody just didn't think of this or if I'm just that cheap, but to me, you're right. I don't care if the box is much about the box as far as the gun is what I'm buying, but I will definitely think twice about a gun if it looks like I'm paying too much for that box. I've seen a couple of FNs and things that come in like little sewn cases and stuff, and that bugs me because they're paying another $100 or more because of this package that I don't want, like some kind of nylon sewn garbage that I'm never going to put the gun in again, and I got to keep it because if I'm ever going to sell the gun, they're going to want that stuff. So for me, if there's too much packaging or it looks like they spent too much money, that'll turn me off. Not that I buy a lot of guns, but nobody's nobody's concerned when there's too much effort, too much money spent on that package?
Well, I mean, it all comes to the bottom line is the cost of the gun, regardless of the packaging. And now, if they want to, let's say last year they sold it the exact same gun in a cardboard box, but this year it comes in a fancy, nylon case with a zipper, but it's the same price. Then that means that they had a high enough markup on it that they could afford to do that and still make a profit. But yeah, it tells me that whoever bought it last year probably paid a little bit more than they should have, but that's not always our control.
There's some Beretta, like a current Beretta that I have my eye on, but it comes in like an ammo can as the one. And I do wonder about that. Like, am I paying all this money because you got to put it in ammo?
I'll be honest, I don't ever usually know what kind of case it comes in until I've already decided I'm going to buy the gun. So,
no, that's a good point. Rarely do people know until it like comes out at the end, right after the paperwork.
If we look back at all the date at the gun show of the day that you guys have done on this show hundreds of times, when they're in the shop, I don't remember once where they actually showed the box that came in. They only showed the actual product.
Sure. Now, I can tell you from hanging out in shops and working in shops before, there are people that will double check the box before they make an actual final decision. And a lot of times with used, it comes up because they want to know all's getting included. But like I say, I don't really think I'm the only one that, decides, like I say, if there's an extra $100 in a little package or some kind of gizmo that comes with it, oh, let's talk about that Mossberg just in case thing, right? Like, it's a novelty, I guess, but I'm always going to just buy a regular shotgun before I buy one that comes in some kind of tube, right? But anyway, I'm thinking for some guns, if it's just something I'm interested in or whatever, and I'm not too concerned about having all the original stuff, I'll just buy one used without that box. I mean, I'd rather figure out an alternative way to procure one than to pay money for something that...
When I look at one that's used, other than the gun itself, the second thing that I look for is, did they also turn in the owner's manual? I'm more concerned about that than I am the box. The box is, again, like a third layer down. Or if there was a special tool required for breaking the gun down, did that come along with the gun?
Right. That's what I'm saying. So if they lose the box and then I'm paying a lot less for the gun, then great. I'm glad that box is lost and I'm not paying for it.
Yeah, having the original box is good to know if you've got all the accessories and stuff. But like I said, it's not that you buy it for the box; it's that the box gives you more clues as to whether you have the complete package or not.
An old Colt or something, an old gun, boxes can add hundreds of dollars to the value, especially paper boxes. I was talking about the fall part. So of course, collectors' guns are a little different, no matter what we're talking about. But what about like Springfields? How they come with that stupid holster and mag thing, and then the mag loader. Now I've bought one before. It's not like I'm immune to this stuff, but that's why I am against all this shit now. Is that I bought one of them one time, and I'm like, okay, I've never used the mag loader ever. I've never used the mag carrier because it's stupid. They're going like a V shape, the one I had, and then the holster was a Phobos, so it was okay for some things. But I never used it as a holster, so. To me, that seems like a lot of extra stuff. That for somebody, like, oh, I'm trying to buy all this stuff at once, or I don't know, I want to make one less trip to the store. Great, but for me, I didn't want to pay for all that extra stuff.
Yeah, I'd rather have them knock $50 or whatever all this stuff costs off the price of the gun, so I can pick out the holster and mag carrier that I want.
Yeah. Now, I'd be all about if they offered like the good to go package where it came with all that stuff, and like you say, it's $50 more or whatever, and they give it to you at a good deal. But yeah, they should also offer one that's you don't have to buy all that crap.
This is related to the box conversation, but what do you guys generally think about some manufacturers that include some accessories along with the gun, whether it be a mag carrier, whether it be a beginner's holster, just so you have something versus nothing?
Well, I just said I don't like that stuff. I think it's a waste of money. It's always garbage. They're just getting the lowest vendor source they can. They're preying on people who are inexperienced and unaware. or need one for whatever reason. They they're out of state or something, and they can just buy that easier than finding everything. But it's just like a first aid kit or a tool kit for your car. Are you going to buy that tool kit that's at the gas station and be satisfied with it? Like, you might use it once or twice and not, be better than trying to use your hands. But that's not what
I mean, I guess I'm thinking of it in the same version as somebody looks at like a cricket. I mean, it's not meant to be a long-term thing. It's meant to be just a start through the starting gate. You have something to begin the process. You never like buying, even if you buy your own holster, we all know that that's not going to be the holster that you're going to be with long-term. You're going to find out that there's something that you like better in some other holster.
It's a real good point that, yeah, exactly. Nobody has a holster and is satisfied and done. So at least it gets you started, I guess.
I would rather them just include an extra magazine than all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's an excellent point, because that wasn't always the case where you got 2 magazines, let alone sometimes now 3. Used to be you got 1 magazine if it was a semi-auto, and then you had to buy extras.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the Star comes, right? It's got that little pocket. 1 magazine, that's it.
I mean, back in '86, my Colt 1911 Officers model came with 1 magazine.
I absolutely hate it.
Magazine, but that's how it came.
I absolutely hate it when the gun doesn't come with at least 3 to start with.
Yeah, but that's how we've gotten into it, where we're using modern viewpoints, but looking back at history and how things were. I mean, because there's always people, it's like, well, why are you buying the gun? Are you buying it just to shoot at the range and enjoy yourself? Well, then 1 magazine might be fine. Just because you shoot it, you load it up again, and then you shoot it some more. Now, if you're buying it for other reasons, like self-defense, then 1 is not going to be appropriate. And there's other reasons for having more magazines as well, but that's just an example.
I don't think I own any gun I only own 1 or 2 magazines for.
Well, like a collectible gun or like a historic gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only ones. Some of my old guys, I only have 1 magazine because I'm not spending $80 or $90 to go buy a second original magazine. Especially for a gun that's pretty much a collectible, and it stays in. I take it out to the range very rarely, so it's just not worth it.
At this point in my life, I'm not into collecting firearms per se, collectible firearms right now. So,
but G-Webs did bring up a good point about sometimes the accessories that come with it are so lame that it'd be better if they didn't come with it, or they just gave you the 75 cents or whatever it costs off the price of the gun.
Aren't those padlock things they put in there, aren't those required?
Those are required. Well, they're required in some states, I think. So they just include them.
Well,
Right.
they probably put them in all of them because they don't want to specify what state their shipments are going to.
For handguns, that's federal
like-
law.
The
It
guns,
is federal?
some,
Okay.
some come with 1 shell that's been fired to prove that it's safe.
I think that's what I was thinking of. That's for some states, and it's easier to just include them with all guns.
Right.
But,
I'm referring to things like magazine reloaders to help make it easier to reload. Like the Glocks come with that one that's kind of lame.
Some Glocks do.
oh no, that Glock one is actually. I mean, it doesn't look like much, but as far as loaders go, that's actually one of the better ones, just because it's a simple design. The one that some of the others I've seen where they have like levers and stuff, they're trying, but they don't. It's not faster.
Right. Well, I guess I'm comparing it against a commercial product that's all they do, and
Yeah,
the Lula
like,
loaders as an example.
Yeah, exactly. They're no Lula, but they're better than some of the.
Absolutely.
I use my Glock mag loader on all my double stack mags.
Yeah, because it's basically a generic size or
I haven't found any it doesn't work on.
all single stacks probably.
Well, yeah, but I'm at doubles.
But another tool, like going to AKs, is a lot of times, especially in the used market, that tube that has the not only the cleaning brush and rods in it, but also has tools that are part of the cleaning case itself, and part of the tube itself becomes a tool. That little tube has a lot of different uses, and unfortunately, sometimes when a gun goes from new to used, it gets lost in the process. just like the owner's manuals. And yet they're very functional. You just, it may not be obvious, so you may have to, do a little YouTube looking to see how it works, but it'll help you break down an AK a whole lot easier than just trying to use your thumbs.
Roosted brings up a real good point on the gun channel side. When he buys a used gun, he likes to see the box in good condition with all its contents. That makes him feel good, or it makes them feel like they took good care of the gun. And that's a good point, that if the cardboard box is in great condition, probably just sat in that cardboard box, or else in a house where a cardboard box isn't going to get smashed up.
Right. It's definitely an indicator, but I would think, looking at the deep inside of the recesses of the guns that are not easy to clean, and with a light, look to see for signs of either excessive grit and dirt that's not been cleaned out and or rust, is a far better indicator of how it's been taken care of than the condition of the box. I mean, because we all know certain guns have certain parts of it that are difficult to get to clean properly.
True.
And sometimes people skip it, or they don't clean it often enough because it's a pain in the butt. But the condition of the box is definitely an indicator of, does the owner care for his firearms or not? Yes, that's true.
I find a lot of times in used guns, though, whenever I buy them and stuff, they really haven't ever been shot very much, because a lot of people just buy them and don't shoot them.
Sometimes that's true.
Especially the ones they're selling, right? They're selling it because they don't like it.
Yep.
It went to the range once. They didn't like it for whatever reason. It sat in a closet for who knows, whether it be a week, a month, a year, 5 years, and then eventually found itself on the used market.
A lot of times people will buy a 9mm and then regret it. And, it's a bad life decision for them. So they'll try to make a better life for themselves.
Yeah.
And pass it
Because
on.
who needs capacity?
Capacity, the cry of the metric.
Oh,
All right, so
in the wine of the AARP.
Right, when you're older, you need the ability to knock down 3 or 4 people with one bullet.
Except you're not older.
No, but when I'm getting older, I want to be comfortable with my caliber choice. And I'm in Arizona. There's a lot of retired people here. It makes them feel a lot more comfortable if I carry the same caliber as them.
Is there something in the air? So if I went there on vacation, I might come back and want a 45?
There's a lot of freedom out here, Daniel. You're from Illinois, so what's going to happen is you're going to come out here and experience this individual freedom. And, well, one, maybe you'll go back home. But you'll probably go back home to get your stuff, say goodbye to your family or whatever. But, yeah, you'll probably have a whole different outlook on calibers once you have the plethora of the whole palette to choose from.
Of course, if you drive through Kansas on your way to Arizona, you'll find out we have all that freedom right here and no desert.
Cheetos, could you tell? Sorry.
That is true, but Kansas, Dorothy, has a lot of tornadoes.
Not as much as Oklahoma does, buddy.
Well, it's all relative, because Tornado Alley does extend from out your guys through my area onto Indiana and Ohio.
Yes, gun snob about tornadoes. He's right in the right spot for him.
We just go outside and watch them in lawn chairs.
Was that a cow?
Troy says, if you thought about shooting the tornadoes with like a 9mm or something.
Ooh.
What's a 9mm gun? Do you just get it swept right up and do nothing?
But it's safe. You don't have to worry about that.
Or would make the air separate and probably knock it down a couple.
That's true. If you shoot the bottom of a tornado with a 45, it just takes all its air.
I can't believe that Ms. 380 is speaking up to the 9mm.
I like 40.
You know what bothers me? Is my screen sharing still? Look at this. I'm on this stupid YouTube site. People are on YouTube are okay. Oh, I see. It's because I have the screen squished. I have the screen like this instead of full screen. And it gives me, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Like, you know how hard it is to read when people are actually chatting and there's 4 lines? Stupid YouTube.
That's why I always pop out the chat.
Here's gun channels, same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. That's twice as many lines. Twice as good as YouTube. And I appreciate somebody just bought something off store, it sounds like. So not very many sales today. This is sale number 5, I think. 3? No, 5, I think, all day. And yeah, be some cool Red Dawn stuff going out for Free Patch Friday today. All right, so oh yeah, Patriot. I can't believe you showed up late because really, I agree with Troy. This has been one of the best DGSs we've had all year. Don't you guys agree?
Yes.
I can't believe Patriot missed the beginning of this one. Well, I don't know if you can even get it all in a replay. You know, you had to be there.
So I got a question.
Who's the member of the day? Good question. So every day we try to pick a member over on Gun Channels to feature. And today it's going to be Tactical 6-String. So it's glad Dano's in here because I don't know if any of y'all know Tactical 6-String besides Dano.
I do. You do. I don't think anybody else does. Tactical 6-String. It's a great guy. I want to say. I always get the states confused. Vermont, New Hampshire.
Well, he moved though. That's why. I think it was New Hampshire and no, it was Vermont and then New Hampshire because I think he's in New Hampshire now.
Okay, but yeah, he was a real cool guy. He was heavily into guitars, and he was actually a very good guitar player, electric guitar player, and as well as had his own kind of collection kind of going. Knew a lot about ARs. I know helped me out on a couple of things. Back in the day when I was just starting out with certain things. Very friendly, very outgoing. Also a very humorous guy. He was pretty funny.
Yeah. And laid back, he really could handle,
Yeah,
Gun Channels are kind of rickety in the beginning, so those guys that were sticking around in the beginning, was not as smooth crystal.
Right, and I can say, he's one of the original guys, that I can say is sorely missed. From multiple perspectives, whether it's the knowledge, his humorous personality, his other talents like being able to play guitar riffs off of various songs. He could just hear it and then just replay it himself. He's a very talented guy and sorely missed.
Okay, so I interrupted you. You were about to say something.
I just said it all.
No, before I started talking about 6-String, I thought you were about to say something.
Oh, I forgot. I'm like an old guy in that way.
All right, so we already talked about. We didn't talk about anything. So we could talk about FFLs, or we could talk about.
I remember.
Go ahead.
In your cartoon picture there, the guy in the lighter green coat jacket.
Robert. Yeah.
He's got a knife, and then on the inside of his belt, there's that light tan thing. Is that what is that? Is that part of the sheath holder or what?
Yeah, I don't really know.
I thought that was his pistol grip. I thought no.
Kind of looked like a revolver grip, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to tell. Maybe a knife, a little knife, it's a buck. No, you know what it is? It's where the suspender comes down and holds onto his belt.
Oh, okay. It's a connector thing.
Yeah, it's communist leather, so it's like an upside down belt loop and a ring.
Okay.
So I just made it look like a knife because I thought it was just a fucking drama cartoon.
Okay, because I thought it was like the snap-on to the knife sheath that had come undone.
No, because that's definitely there. See, it snapped there.
Yep. Okay.
Anyway, so FFL.
It just goes to show that people do pay attention to the details of what you're doing. So if you think, well, nobody's going to notice, somebody's going to look.
FFLs. Talked about this one a few times over the years.
What is it? And are there different types? And what are the different types if there are?
How would you pronounce that? Full?
Federal firearms license?
No, FFL.
Full.
It's
not an
acronym. It's not a word.
Right.
Acronyms are not meant to be pronounced. They're just meant to use the letters. Like the NBA, we just say NBA. You don't go nibble.
Oh, so the NRA isn't NRA?
No, it's not.
All right. Well, that was acronyms mansplained for everyone.
I do what I can for you, Angie.
Thank you.
At your service.
Angie. I know my Rolling Stones voice doesn't quite roll out there too well, but if Tactical Six String was here, he could lay it down for us.
I liked it anyway.
Cycle has a CNR, so we have a country that has a separate license for people that want to collect, so that the government keep track on who is collecting, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's in both three.
And they referred those as classes, if I remember correctly.
The classes of FFLs, you mean?
Yeah, it's like a class 1, a class 2, a class 3.
Not really. The classes come from like Title II and Title I, and they called them Class 3 for some reason. But they don't. I don't never heard anybody go around calling the FFLs by classes. Normally, they're mostly manufacturer, seller, or importer, that kind of thing.
There's like an 01, 02, 07 is a manufacturer, and your CNR.
Is it true or not true that each one is inclusive of the lower one behind it?
No, not true. So in other words, if you've got a manufacturer and then you get a SOT, you're not going to, let's see. I don't know. I gotta say it depends on the hierarchy, I guess. But if you've got, it depends on what you want to consider the hierarchy. But if you've got a regular FFL to run a gun shop, and then maybe you add the FFL to be a gunsmith or something, or maybe a manufacturer, it doesn't mean you can do destructive devices. If you get a FFL to build destructive devices, that doesn't mean you can build ammunition. So there might be a couple of things that, but it's, for the most part, it's not like there's a hierarchy. And if you've got the highest one, then you can do everything under.
But generally speaking, although it may not be declared as a higher or lower level, like CNR would be like step 1.
I don't know. CNR is unique because it's for collectors. It's not in business.
Right. I guess what I mean by step 1, I mean it's the most restrictive as far as it's just for one person, and it's highly limited as far as what you can and cannot do.
Okay.
I'm sitting here looking through my FFL application right now. It says what one of each one.
Somebody who has a reference sheet in front of them, go ahead and rip through them.
I'm looking through it.
So there are lots and lots and lots and lots of different FFL license types.
I've got it.
The most common one are 1 through 7. So, for instance, you were talking about regular gun stuff. So, like a Type 1 is a dealer in firearms or gunsmithing, but a Type 2 is just a pawnbroker.
And 01, 02 you get the same license either way with them. I got the application right in front of me. And 06 is a manufacturer of firearms other than ammunition, destructive devices, armor piercing. 07 is a manufacturer of, no, I'm sorry, 06 is a manufacturer of ammunition. And 07 is a manufacturer of firearms. 08 is an importer. Yeah. 08 is an
those
importer.
Numbers is where I was getting the idea of a class, like class 1, class through, but that's where I was getting the.
No, they don't follow any logical progression, really.
Yeah, and a class 3 is basically just an SOT, which is just a different tax stamp.
So on your sheet, how many types are there generally? 10, 12?
No, the 0102 is 1 in itself. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total. On that, I've got the FFL application right in front of me.
Yeah, I'm surprised because it shows separately in the material I'm looking at.
Yeah, I thought there was 9 or something.
Well, this is the application for federal firearms license printed off from ATF.
Oh, see, that's your problem right there.
Now, I'm going to try to tie two things that seem unrelated to each other, and if it's too big of a topic, we'll just drop it and for another time. But tying in something that seems to be going on lately, especially in my state of Illinois, counties declaring themselves as
sanctuary counties.
Sanctuary counties, you know, basically from the state and federal government in regards to draconian laws.
Do you know how many it is now, by any chance?
No, I don't. But in relationship to a FFL, which is a federal thing, and what sort of power, or is it just a political thing, a feel-good thing to claim your county is protected in some way that it really isn't?
Well, it has nothing to do with FFLs really, because FFLs is a federal license from the government, so that applies to people in the business of basically firearms, right?
Right, but if you're in a sanctuary county and the federales come and say, we are here to compile a list of everyone within this county, so for the purposes of collecting firearms, we want your list. Does living in that county grant them any protections?
None at all.
Not
no.
From the federal.
All that says is the sanctuary county, the counties in Illinois saying, we are not going to obey Illinois law that is unconstitutional. So they're not saying we're not going to obey any law. So FFLs are still bound by their obligations to the federal government.
Okay, gotcha. I mean, I really never and still don't have a good grasp of what how much power there is behind being a sanctuary county legally. And I know it's legally untested, and we won't really know until then.
I don't have a lot of faith and they're going to work too well.
Versus being a feel-good measure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think they are. But I don't know anything about it, so because I live in a free state.
But you've got things like the constitutional, like the Montana law that says if someone's going to create an item that would normally be regulated by Title II, so NFA items, I guess the way that the federal government claims that they have authority over NFA items is because of interstate commerce and the potential that they're going to cross state lines so that they then have some interest in what happens. So Montana at some point, in 2004, it was a while ago, said, if you're going to create a firearm and it's going to stay in the state of Montana, then the federal laws have no issue here and do what you want. You know? So basically that is an issue for FFLs because they are, they have a license issued by the feds. And just because the state says one thing, their obligation to keep their license is gonna, have a whole set of whatever requirements to it, and that's where they run into issues with federal law versus FFL, or it makes state law versus FFL, because basically what it turns out is if you want to create a suppressor in Montana or one of the states that are like that, you'd have to not be in federal FFL. Because by being a federal FFL, you'd be at the same time you're complying with state law, you'd be violating federal law. So the only way to legally exercise the Montana type of situation would be to not be a federal FFL. Now, if you have your business manager or your wife or somebody open up a building next door, and now that's another entity, I don't know what the deal is there.
Well, kind of on that same subject, how come a state can't say, well, machine guns or suppressors are legal here, just like they are marijuana right now in all these different states? Because marijuana is illegal on a federal level.
Well, that's sort of what we're talking about with the Montana law. It's not that, well, they basically said they're not illegal. They're just regulated by the feds. And the feds regulate based on the idea that you might leave the state with it. So you have to comply with all these national things. So Montana, basically, a bunch of people said, what if we build something that never leaves the state? Then how could the feds ever have any any?
Yeah, we have a number of, I'd say at least a handful of laws between state and federal that have not been fettered out, so to speak, such as marijuana. And then Snob, you mentioned something else. I forgot what it was.
I think you just said the marijuana laws.
Yeah. And I was just curious. So if I live, just for example, I wonder if I live in Montana and make a suppressor and go out front and shoot it, can the ATF not come up to me and give me 10 years in federal prison for having that?
Correct. They cannot. Because the only way they'd be able to get you is to say, oh, you created this without telling us. And Montana said, yeah, you can create whatever you want without telling them.
But the states don't have the right to override the federal. It only goes the other direction. And that's a problem we have in this country is we have like these sanctuary cities and sanctuary states is another example of that same sort of thing that's going on and has not yet been clarified as to because historically, I mean, it's always been, the states can make something more restrictive, but not less restrictive than the federal government.
But they're doing that with marijuana all over.
But that does just because they're doing it doesn't mean that it's going to stand once eventually. At some point, it may hit the Supreme Court, and there will be a decision.
Well, just to clarify, they can make things harder, but that's potentially a violation of a civil right.
Right, but they do it all the time. And I'll give you two examples.
Yes. No, you're. I agree. I'm just clarifying it.
By withholding state highway funds, and the other is by withholding state education funds. That's how they blackmail the states into doing what they want them to do traditionally.
Well, that's just like when the speed limit was 55 nationally, because the state made the speed limit, but the government said if you set your speed limit over 55, used to be, it was they wouldn't give you highway funds.
Right. And I'm just bringing up these other things as example theoretically of the same process or the same type of conflict between federal versus state.
Yes, and the worst part about all that is the wheels that turn to appeal and overturn crappy state laws takes a long time.
Yes.
Years.
So long. Like people die, they live and die under stupid laws that can't be overturned because the appeals process to get all the way to the Supreme Court takes forever. And then once it gets there, it takes even longer for them to even weigh in, if they do at all.
And it's so ironic. I mean, it literally goes from there can be things introduced that evening in session and then at 2 a.m. be voted on and passed. Once all the reporters and most people have, the public areas, most people have long gone. And then, if you're lucky, you might hear about it and for a final decision before you die.
Yeah, they're assholes.
Yeah, and if the Supreme Court, may reject 3 similar cases before it finally hears one.
All right. Well, that was FFLs. Do we want to talk about guns in everyday life? We want to take that one. We got a pretty good panel here. It'll be interesting.
I'm not sure if I understand the question. I'm not trying to be stupid, but...
Well, that's why, you're not a stranger to the show. I just try to throw topics out so that we can think about them. And the idea is to not just follow whatever the news is talking about. So, I don't know, maybe are we winning? There's certainly a lot of... We're aware of a lot of internet presence with gun stuff. Is that making a dent anywhere? Do you think guns are more prevalent or keeping their prevalence, or are we losing?
I've got something on this. All right. So one thing I think that is, these teenage kids like my kids' age and stuff, a lot of them are more interested in guns just because of one simple thing, and that's video games. And like Fortnite, there's a lot of guns in Fortnite and stuff, and they're all interested in, this gun, that gun, and all that. And I think that helps bringing guns into the norm, actually.
Yeah.
You just have to watch your kids with Fortnite and explain that AR is not what they say it is.
Oh, I agree.
So you have to correct them. So my daughter, I correct her all the time. So.
But actually, that AR is an assault weapon because it is fully automatic.
Yeah, but they have burst model and semi-autos too in that game that are semi-auto only, and they call it an assault rifle. I
agree.
But as far as parental oversight, that's just as true in the video game industry as it is in public education. What are they? So, little Johnny, what did the teacher talk about today at school? I mean, you need to spot check what's going on in your child's life.
I completely agree.
Now that's every day.
And one good thing about where I live, it's a small town, and you know, there's not a lot of that crap like that goes on in their school.
I can't say the same.
I live in a small town, and I can tell you the school system is very liberal and likes to encourage all of these Johnny-come-lately causes that haven't been a problem until suddenly now.
Ours has been real good about it so far, you know, knock on wood.
And when I say a problem, I mean in their minds, nothing has actually happened.
Oh, yeah.
They feel that they need to, well, as prevention, we need to institute this new rule.
Well, that's how it works. Perception is reality. That's. I think we all know that, right? When people talk about statistics, their statistics are flawed and purposely overstated. And so the mere fact that they're saying it is all they care about. They don't even care about they don't care about being right, like fundamentally right. They care that they're making the argument that they want to hear. Did everybody catch the assault microwave thing in University of Minnesota?
No, what's all that about?
So I posted the link on the side chat. So I guess some kind of police altercation happened, and somebody in a dorm room or a hotel, they threw a microwave out at the police. And so that prompted the university to release an email saying that they don't allow assault microwaves on campus. It was totally tongue-in-cheek, though, so it was hilarious. It was like, we don't allow microwaves with bump stocks attached. We don't allow microwaves with high-capacity magazines. We don't allow microwaves with baby-killing rounds. It was hilarious. Whoever did that is probably fired.
This was recently?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the link is in the description. I think there's if you search for assault microwaves on the YouTubes, you'll probably find it.
Looking at the schedule, we've got shop today is a shop in Nebraska. So Travis posted these on the Instagram the other day. We looked at that. What was that shop we were looking at yesterday? It was in Michigan. It was,
that huge shop? That thing was huge.
Shop. Yeah, it was. So this one I thought was pretty nice. Look at this, Dano. Seen this?
Oh shit! Look at that.
All you can eat ice cream with unlimited bacon toppings, and all you can drink coffee, espresso, lattes, etc.
I hope there's a chair nearby.
There's what?
A chair to sit down.
Oh, come on. They got ice cream cones. You don't think they got a chair? So I think they're just single pictures. Like there's just the two. But yeah, it looks like a pretty neat spot. They actually have a little station there with food. That's kind of neat. I don't know what it's like in Nebraska. Imagine you guys that live in the big states, right, where you got lots of room and not very many people. You probably have fewer gun shops, so it probably takes a while to get there. Imagine that's cool, having like a bit of a destination once you get there.
Could you imagine,
take a road? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, could you imagine the dad that's like, "Hey kids, let's go for ice cream," and mom and the kids all get in the car and they pull up to the gun shop. They're like, "Let's go get that ice cream, kids! Come on!" It gives them ice cream. He's like, "Okay, I'm going shopping. See you at the range. Bye."
You buy like half the guns you buy there. It's like, oh, there's a bunch of ice cream in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, the ice cream gets you in, but I see Skynet got in the picture.
Yeah, isn't that annoying? They got these little Skynet boogers hanging from the sky everywhere. That other shop had them too.
Hey, Gary, I'll pick you up in the morning. We'll take a road trip to Nebraska.
That sounds like a good deal to me.
Free ice cream.
Heck yeah. I'll even buy the ice cream. Might even pitch in for gas.
So I was going to say...
long trip for me, Gary.
What's that?
It's going to be a long trip for me, Gary. I hope you got lots of gas money. But you did say might.
Might, yeah.
I was going to say the ham radio outlets, they all have coffee machines, but they haven't stepped up their game to ice cream makers yet. That seems like a recipe of failure, having a bunch of people twiddling a bunch of knobs and crap on radios and ice cream in one hand and
Sticky fingers.
Yeah. Exactly. That seems like a problem for guns too, to be honest. So, yes, definitely hand my 5-year-old that revolver.
Yeah,
They'd have
put my
wet wipes
sticky
at the
fingers
gun.
all over your nice glass displays.
Yeah, ice cream cone drips, a big old drip on there.
Just get a cone in each hand and go, please, sir, take me to your gun vault of your high-priced firearms.
You have any pythons?
Yeah.
Well, think about the Bass Club, Bass Pros, and the Cabela's used to have that like
The gun vault. Yeah.
And they sell candy and all kinds of candy and sugary crap downstairs or in the same floor sometimes.
Yeah, the last time I was in Minnesota, there was one that they had it was a Cabela's, and they had the gun vault, and they had they had just a double rifle, a really nicely engraved double rifle. They were asking like 10 grand for the damn thing. And I was like, holy crap. This thing's amazing. I sent it to Tex Grebner. He was very jealous.
I just posted a chat because it's Red Dawn Day. I just posted a AK-47 chat with Tex, or no, it's one that I replied to Tex back in 2012.
Oh, nice.
Replied to him on he did a video back when you could do video responses. Remember those?
Oh yeah.
He did one on what's your favorite movies?
I still talk to him, man. That guy he has got his life, working out a lot, looking really good.
Is he still weird?
Yeah, of course. you don't change that. But as far as healthy, he's real healthy.
Yeah, he's in Illinois. Dan, did you ever follow Tex?
I know of him. I've never physically seen him. He lives not at the other end of the state, but about 2/3 of the way down.
Yeah, that's why.
So what's that, 5 miles?
No. Illinois is bigger than shit up and down.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's about 8-9 hours to get from one end to the other.
Oh wow! Look at you guys.
We're skinny.
Yeah, skinny.
Skinny and long. That's California in a nutshell. Yeah.
Well, no, they're not California, but they're like if you took Kentucky or Kentucky or Tennessee.
Yeah, Kentucky or Tennessee and turned it sideways.
I gotcha. No, I'm with you. Yeah, he's a interesting dude. I like his archery stuff. I'm still a fan of his stuff. I watch it from time to time. His 3D archery that they do, it's kind of like sporting clays, but for archery. I was like, really? That's a good idea. They set up a mock hunting scenario. They'll use 3D targets and they'll put them behind cover or concealment, and you have to try and score a vital hit on the target, and they tally up the points and stuff. It's pretty cool.
See, headbutting me with the rifle.
No, I'm just dragging and dropping right now. So that was our gun shop. We do try to feature a gun shop every day, and thanks for people that go out there and feature their shops on their social media. Whenever we see that, we'll try to include that. If you ever want to make sure we see it, feel free to email us, dailygunshow@gmail.com. And it's one of our goals is talk about different gun shops every single day. Let's see. Do we have anything else we want to talk about? We're right about an hour, it looks like.
I gotta
go watch the assault.
People watching.
Uh-oh.
So, what the hell?
What is that?
Red Dawn is happening.
That's an amber. Yeah, exactly. That's an amber alert. Okay, so here's the deal. How do I close this?
I thought that was the national emergency thing. It's not just
That
amber.
sounds like weather.
No, it was an amber alert. So
Oh,
here's Tucson. Here's where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
Tucson. Now I'm zooming out, and here's the state of Arizona.
Pretty big. Yeah.
This
Good
was
size.
in over here somewhere.
Oh, Jesus. Bullhead. It's in Bullhead City.
Yeah, so I'm in Tucson. You're in Los Angeles. This was an amber alert.
It's closer to me than you.
I don't know why they're giving me that one. Maybe because there's so few roads. Maybe they think we'd see it on the highway here. It says the car. So
Yeah,
Anyway, that was all that was.
I'll get that. I'll make sure I send that out on the Morse code later when I'm on the radio.
I think that I don't mind the concept of something like that, but I think it would be better if instead of just broadcasting it to everyone, and they would make it a thing where if you cared, you'd sign up for the alerts, right? And then that way it would go to the people who have the inclination to be paying attention.
Well, you actually can opt out of it on your phone. You can turn the setting off so that you don't get it anymore.
So I think I tried before because I was like, I'm sitting at home. What are they giving me shit about what's on the road right now? I don't want this.
I mean, you kind of want the weather ones, but sometimes the Amber Alerts, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do in a lot of situations.
I don't know. The weather ones, like, it's raining.
Tornadoes.
Thank you. I can tell when it's raining. I don't need the phone to tell.
Or I'll get the flash flood warning, and it's 105 degrees and no rain where I'm at in the non-lowland area of Southern California. It's like, bruh, what is going to happen here? My neighbor had a water main break that I got to worry about.
Yeah, but the weather ones are kind of nice when you live in Oklahoma and you actually could blow away.
Yeah, but you've got Skywarn there. You've got better stuff than the state runs. That's where the amateur radio stuff, the emergency preparedness, ARES, RACES, all that stuff, like that's way better than the state. The state gets their information from those guys. You familiar with Skywarn?
No, I've heard of it, but I don't
like
really know.
Skynet?
Yeah, but it's but warning about things from the sky.
I don't know what I'm tied into, but I know I get the ones for tornadoes and intense thunderstorms.
I don't know. I've got a weather radio app on my phone that drives you insane.
It sends it via text rather than a phone.
Just get a weather radio
system, but
yeah, that's usually either NOAA or your state weather service providing that service.
Yeah, I just get a weather radio.
I mean, the two reasons I like it is one is it doesn't call me, so I don't think it's a person. I know it's a machine. And the other is that when bandwidth is let's say there are some systems that are down and they don't have full bandwidth, it doesn't take much to get a text message across successfully. If systems are at like partial capacity.
Yeah. I used to have a weather radio. I guess I still do somewhere. I don't know. Probably in a closet somewhere.
I do. I got the NOAA thing happening. In fact, I got two of them. I got one with a solar cell that I keep underneath my lamp, so which is what I'm sitting right next to. So for every night it's turned on for a few hours. You know, the lamp to keep the battery charged. I do my like fire detector testing of the batteries things. I also test my radio.
All right.
Well, that's good. That's definitely a positive. Yeah, make sure you're doing that.
Because having it without checking it, you might as well almost not have it.
See, I'm just going to blow away in the middle of the night, but, you know, it's all fun.
Yeah, exactly. I've got my radio.
I know it's in here somewhere.
Well, I don't want to turn this into a radio chat, but I'm tempted to see Cycle and Hosh have anything to talk about radio. So before we do that, is there anything else gun related that we want? I saw that Potatoes has a room open, so there'll be a live chat after this one.
Who did you say that was again?
Potatoes.
Oh, Potatoes. Okay.
He does the Tater Tube.
I'm surprised he's not in here now.
Oh, because he opened up his own room. He got a link.
Ah.
All right. Well, anything else going on? It's Red Dawn Day, so I don't know. After that, maybe, or depending on what goes on, maybe we'll watch the movie later or not. We forgotten history. I think there's probably other history. The Buffalo Bill shoot is going on right now. How was your? You did the radio show tonight, Josh?
Yeah, we did. It was one of the boring ones. I'm trying to get through the general class license manual, which means that we got to cover rules and regulations, and that's the boring episode. And it showed we only had about 60 people at the peak listening. So it is what it is. That's kind of how it goes. But next week we will be doing a radio build. So I'll be building a 20-meter CW radio. It's super high portable field radio. CW only, so you got to know Morse code. But it's cool because you get to build it yourself, which is a nice little, it's kind of the gunsmithing of radio, if you will.
Hey, as a technology question, do you guys happen to know if during the if you log on to one of those through Roku on YouTube, does it show up in the counts or anything?
Well, if you log in with your YouTube into the Roku, you're logged into that account.
Right. I just didn't know if you've ever noticed any of that stuff, because you can't comment or anything.
No, you can't, but you can subscribe to channels, and you can give thumbs up and you can give thumbs down, that whole thing. Plus, you'll often get an email on your main email that says, "Hey, you logged in from such and such device. Did you want to do that?"
I use it quite a bit, and it'll continue. If you quit in the middle of a video, you can pull it right back up where you were when you get on your phone or your computer or whatever.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I've got one of those Google TVs, and I have my YouTube logged in, so I can just, from my phone, if I've got like a bunch of videos that I queued up, I can just shoot it to the TV, and I can jump back and forth very easily. So it's nice to have if you got it set up correctly.
Is that the Chromecast?
No, it's a television that has Google TV loaded on it. A lot of TVs have that.
Now,
do you have a projector?
Does it come with its own internet connectivity, or does it have to write off your internet?
You can write it off of Wi-Fi or off of a network cable, and I've got a Cat 5 cable shoved into it.
Okay.
Cool.
You got a long way to go if you're going to get this clean by the end of the show cycle.
Oh, I'm still having a hell of a time taking it apart.
I see that.
Well, the biggest problem that I had was taking out the mag release, because I can't find any. Believe it or not, YouTube failed me, and I cannot find any disassembly on the BM. I can find the B, but not the BM. And it turns out that the magazine disconnect is totally different on the two of them. So, yeah, on the B, they just used this pin has a threaded nut on the other end, and then there's a blank on this side, and you just screw it in. Well, this one has this really amazing spring-loaded doohickey in it, and what looks like a screw isn't a screw. It's you have to push it all the way in and then turn it into a channel. So I wasted a lot of time trying to figure out why I couldn't get the damn thing to unscrew. But that's okay. So that was the biggest problem. And then the second biggest problem is I know the trigger pin has to go from right to left, but this one is so old that it's frozen up, and I'm having a hard time moving it. I did spray it with penetrating oil, and I have got it started. So it has now started, and I can now I'm going to be able to take it apart. But that just cost me a lot of extra time on this particular project. It's not anywhere near as dirty as I thought it was going to be. I mean, the amount of rust that was coming out of it, because it was floating out with the oil. So it looks a lot worse than it is, but it's just really a couple of little pieces of surface rust here and there. But I did notice on my trigger, you remember I had the problem when I was using it. I had the problem where the trigger failed to reset and the gun went off while I was parting with it. Well, you probably can't see it. No, I can't see it. Hold on a minute. Let me focus on these so I can see what the hell I'm showing you. So here's the trigger, and there's the bar. Yeah, I'll get there in a minute. And so here's the trigger, and there's the bar, and the sear is actually, the sear engagement point is right here. I'm trying to move backwards here.
Sorry, you're off the camera again.
Okay. Like that.
Right there.
So when I pull the trigger, look at this Z-shaped piece of metal right up by that hole. And I don't know if you can see the amount of rust that's on that. And that's what's sticking this trigger up.
Oh.
It's rusting here underneath this part right here.
Yeah.
So I really need to get that out of there so I can do it. But I'll tell you what, people are talking about, oh man, you shouldn't get a Star BM because you won't be able to get parts and they're real complicated. This is one of the simplest semi-automatics I have ever taken apart. I mean, once I get this trigger mechanism out of here, there's like nothing here.
I got a question for you, and I know you've said something briefly about it one time, but I know you've got virtually most of the World War II era rifles. An example of that, and I know you said something about pistols, and I can't remember what you said in regards to why you hadn't gotten into them, or whether that was later or what.
Well, I just haven't got around to it. It's just really expensive. The wheel guns are not that expensive.
Hey, Cycle Camp, have you ever held a Johnson?
I heard that. Yeah, I apologize. I didn't come on the panel last night because you guys were overloaded with panel people, and I was and I honestly was not up to it. But I wanted a Johnson. It was on my list for Tulsa, and I saw one down there and picked it up and fondled it. But you know how it is when you want to fondle another guy's Johnson, it costs a lot of money. So it was just too much money to fondle a Johnson. So I said, no, I'm not going to buy it.
But I heard that if you fondle another man's Johnson, they pay you.
No, that's not how it works in Tulsa.
Well, seriously, though, I did hear there was how much was it? Because they're super expensive, right?
Oh God, it was like $4 or $5 grand.
Oh wow, that is.
I could have bought all the other guns. Other guns I bought, 10 guns, cost me less than that. So I said, no, I'm going to leave that on the table for another day.
Leave the Johnson on the table.
Which is kind of embarrassing because when you found the guy Johnson, you really shouldn't leave it on the table like that. You never know; someone else might want to come along and pick on it or.
People do look, but it is okay to tap it, but no more than twice.
Don't poke the Johnson.
Angelina's always wanted to touch a Johnson, but never been able to.
That's correct.
I find that incredibly hard to believe. But anyway,
yeah, I was on the chat last night, and so when that came up, I was like, "Oh man, this is going to stick around for a while," and I will make it stick if I have to. But yeah, Cycle Camp, I saw your comments about shotgunning and stuff. I saw your comments on the shotgunning, so I was trying to relay as much as I could because I know you're a shotgunner.
Oh yeah, that's no problem. No, you had two guys that really did a lot of shooting. I do some shooting, and I've taken 2 firsts, a second, and a third in the 5 years that I've been doing it. But I am a very basic, easygoing guy. I do not believe in spending a lot of money on guns because it's not the gun; it's a shooter. You take a guy that can really shoot that stuff. You can give him, Uncle George's old shit box from 100 years ago, and he'll still knock those birds down.
So, we didn't hit that, but that's a great point. And I relate shotgunning a lot to golf because there's so many similarities. And there are a ton of people who come out in the field and they've got some whiz-bang gun and they spent many thousands of dollars on it. And then we've got this guy, and this guy is such a good shooter. He'd come out to Skeet Day with a model model 42, like Browning 42. Or maybe it's a Winchester 42. Either way, pump action 410, and he'll run lights out, 25 rounds, no problem on Skeet. And so it doesn't matter what gun you have. It really doesn't.
Yep. And just so you know, when I started playing golf, I started with a pair of antique wooden clubs that have no sweet spot on them at all.
Yeah.
Just once you learn to play with those, you buy a modern set of clubs, and it's like, oh my God, this is like driving a jet plane.
They weren't antiques when he started.
They weren't. No, that's true.
No, they were brand new when he bought them.
Yeah.
Well, he carved them himself.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoy skeet shooting. I had just shot that evening. Actually, I'd shot a 25 and a 22. So.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, the 22 kind of sucked. I keep picking my head up. You know, I know what I'm doing
for skeet.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about expensive shotguns and stuff. My favorite gun to shoot with, of course, like I said, I don't shoot competitions or anything, just goofing around, is my old 1148 20 gauge with an adjustable choke that was handed down to me.
Yeah.
Oh, poly. You got a poly choke on that sucker?
Yep. But that's my favorite gun to shoot skeet with. It's a great gun for that.
Is that the one that has the big, like, looks like a compensator on the end of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That's
those are
poly
wild.
choke.
Yeah.
You just grab them and twist them.
Yep. One of my favorite guns to shoot. They can go very expensive. The sky's the limit with this thing. But American trap gun, Browning BT99. Just a really nice single shot shotgun. Really good for trap. Oh, yep. There it is. That's it. God, that's a weird. Look at that. Yeah, a nice little semi. Yep.
Man, these guns.
Hope everybody saw that. That was a good one. You don't see those every day. When they show up, it's kind of like, whoa.
No, but whenever you see them in a pawn shop or something, I keep saying I'm going to find a 12 gauge used in a pawn shop because I've seen them before for like $200. I mean, how many semi-autos can you buy for $200?
Yeah. Like, sir, we don't have silencers. Those are illegal in this state.
Yeah. But the only bad thing about this thing is this stinking 20 gauge, most 12 gauges.
You cut out there. What would you say? What about 12?
Hold on. Let me turn my bandwidth back down.
It keeps clicking.
Is that better?
All the rust in the stupid gun is right here on the trigger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I need to clean it out.
Yep. You'd be there all day if you didn't get that piece out.
This thing.
What do you say about 12 gauge and 20 gauge though?
Yeah, I'm still trying to get the.
Am I better now? I turned my bandwidth back down.
I think so, but it just cut out.
It was clear. It's just that it cut out one word. Just was anyway. What were you saying? 12.
Okay, no, I think this 20 gauge 1148 kicks harder than my 12 gauge, just 870 because I don't know. It's that recoil or blowback operator, whatever, and that it throws that whole bolt back into you, and it kicks like a mule.
Well, usually that's supposed to dampen the recoil.
It doesn't. Everybody that shoots this gun says it kicks harder than a 12 gauge pump.
Really? That's why a lot of guys shoot semi is because it softens up the recoil.
Yeah, but this one has that big bolt that flies back into you every time. So
well, yeah, but I mean, you're still if you think about the physics behind it, if you if you've got a closed breech system, you fire it, all that recoil is going into you, versus with the semi, it's going into the moving mechanism. Maybe it's just the spring is pretty light.
Yeah, and it's an old gun, so it may be.
Yeah.
What was the model and make of that 20 gauge?
It's an 1148 Remington.
Are those still in production?
No, they weren't in production very long. They came out in like 48, went to maybe 59 or 60, I think.
We got somebody on the YouTube side who's bragging about his Johnson. John Brown says, "You guys are welcome to come to New Hampshire and shoot my Johnson. Just bring ammo."
Wow, that's pretty
Notice
cool.
he said shoot, not handle.
I'm assuming one begets the other.
Now, is that a pump, Johnson?
You definitely have to pump it.
Oh, and G-Webs, I wanted to mention that's a rotary magazine on the Johnson. It's a 10-round rotary magazine, and it loads with stripper clips that the 1903 used.
Oh, okay. So I'm thinking of a different one that had a trap. Craig Jorgensen?
The Crag Jorgensen, the Crag.
Yeah,
that's the one where you drop the box on the side and dump the rounds in, and then the follower comes in when you close it.
That was the Rough Rider gun, right?
Yes, Roosevelt loved that. I have one of those. That's a nice gun.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can find a ton of them sports drives, but you can find very few of them in original condition. And I happen to have one in original condition.
Oh, cool. What do they do? Cut up the foregrip?
Yeah, they slice it all up. You know, sometimes they turn the barrels down a little bit, but basically they screw the wood all up. Basically, is what they quickly.
Yesterday's pomade. I've heard your likelihood of shooting a Johnson increases exponentially if you appendix carry.
Technically accurate. So,
well, that increases the chance of your Johnson going off. I don't know if it increases the chances of your Johnson.
Now, boys,
tonight's the night that we do all the Johnson jokes that we didn't do last night.
So we're going to steal a topic that Clover had talked about in his chat earlier. He had a Q&A chat on his Friday chat, and they one of the questions that came up in answer to the question, Clover had mentioned some things about recoil. And I thought that was interesting because I don't remember if we've talked about that in a long time, if ever. And that's, there's different recoil impulses or different types of recoil. And we'll talk about that next Friday. And then because Cycle's been hanging out on the show, we're going to put a topic in for a couple of Fridays out. So it's on the tech day. But we'll dig into actions and talk about all kinds of different actions and ways that firearms get bullets or cartridges up into them.
I love this concept. It's a really good idea.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, you need to do that after September 1st. Just so you know.
Because you're adding more to your mix or something?
No, because I'm going to be in Norway.
Oh, okay. When are you leaving?
I won't be back. I prefer not to say.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah, well, I'll get it with you off air, and we'll get it scheduled.
I'll be back by the Monday after, the first Monday in February.
Yeah, right on. We'll get it on this schedule for a future show, though. So I think that'd be interesting to talk about.
They don't have internet in Norway?
Yeah, they do, but I don't have my guns.
Well, they have guns.
It would be nice if somebody said, "Oh, this kind of action," and I was able to run back and say, "Wait a minute, I'll go get an example of that." I mean, there's a few I don't have. But...
All right, well, we've got 28 people watching still towards the end. We ran a little bit over tonight, so I appreciate everybody who joins us live. It's really what we're trying to do here is have a exercise in the new media. And by that, I don't mean taking an old-fashioned radio show and putting it on the web or putting a television show or a published magazine online, but instead using the communication things we have and the ability to share screens and to play with different pieces of software. Cycle's over there cleaning a gun. We've got people from all over the country, and if you count the people that are watching live, we definitely span the country. So I do appreciate people that jump in and participate. And of course, all the people that might be listening to this after, you're welcome to participate in the show as well. We have the email, dailygunshow@gmail.com. Anytime you like to add contribution or comments, feel free. I'll encourage you to participate in the various places we post the show for lots of reasons. We've explained those in the past. And hopefully everybody went out and watched Red Dawn today. It's a really cool movie. It's a significant one, and I think a pleasure to watch. So with that, we have a quote.
I saw one in the side chat, so I didn't get mine ready.
We do have a quote. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be Bob or the Cycle, whatever. So here it is. Far better it is to dare mighty things, with the poor timid spirits who know neither victory or defeat. And that's on.
What happened? I think you walked down a hallway or something.
What?
You went very quiet.
Oh, should I read it again?
Oh, I think it's because I turned down my volume. That's not helping.
Probably.
It would be helpful because you cut out a little bit there.
Okay, I'll read it again.
Yes, please.
Far better it is to dare mighty things than to take rank those poor timid spirits who know neither victory or defeat.
When holding a Johnson.
The guys and gals at gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.